There's a phrase I keep hearing from immigrants living in the UK, Australia, Canada, across Europe, and honestly, it stops me every single time. And it goes something like, oh, I'm just doing any job for now. Or you hear something like, oh, my degree doesn't really count here. Or the one that actually really gets to me is, I didn't move abroad for this, but what choice do I have? I have to put a roof over my head. I have to look after my family. I just have to do this type of job. I've actually heard this exact words from doctors, from lawyers, accountants, from engineers, and people were genuinely at the top of their career back home. And most of them are now driving Ubers or working warehouse shift, or some working in the aged care and disability sector, basically doing jobs that have absolutely nothing to do with why they spent years building their career. And I really want to talk about why that is happening, because I don't believe most people are seeing the real problem. And if you're solving the wrong problem, it's very hard because you're just going to keep fighting. Now, I'm not saying this from the outside looking in. I actually lived this myself. So when I moved to Australia, I had no idea there was even a problem. Genuinely, I just looked around and saw what everyone else was doing and thought, okay, this must just be what you do. This must just be what people like me would have to do to support. So I started working as a disability support worker, so I was studying at the time. Then I got into the aged care as an assistant in nursing. And because I've really always had this thing in me that wants to serve and support people, I also got into catering on the other side. For me at the time, I wouldn't say I was miserable. I actually cared about my work. I loved the people that I supported. I was making money as well. I was getting on with life. And honestly, I was actually comfortable. It wasn't actually up until my boyfriend at the time, who is now my husband, it was the first person who said to me, you do have so much potential and I strongly believe you could be doing something completely different. Now bear in mind, he was a project manager. He's tech through and through, and he could see something inside of me that I couldn't even see inside of me yet. But even then, I didn't listen because I thought, I'm fine. Like, why fix what is not broken? This is working. I'm doing the job. I'm working. This is what I've always known and probably what I would always do. But then I had several moments at work that made me feel like, okay, perhaps it's time I started to explore something else. So it was really a situation where I got treated in a way that made it very clear that I could not stay in a survival job anymore. And for the first time, I actually went looking. I called him. I started crying and it's like, okay, let's pick up the conversation about you exploring a career in tech. I got intentional about building my skills and positioning myself properly. And today, I run multiple ventures, including Sync Skills, where over the last 4 years, I have worked with hundreds of ambitious immigrants every single week, helping them get out of stressful work, unfulfilling job, into getting into big tech. So definitely it worked. But the truth for me is, if that moment didn't happen on the job where I got spattered, I don't think I would have moved, because honestly, I was getting too comfortable in that loop, doing what everyone was doing. And what I'm about to share with you are the 4 real reasons a lot of immigrants stay in jobs where they feel unfulfilled, where they feel like they're just surviving, because I've heard them all from real people over and over again. The first problem is your experience is real. However, nobody in your new country can read it. Now, this is the one that catches people off guard the most. A lot of people think they lost their skills or their experience as soon as they got on that plane. Your qualification is real, your experience is real. However, the way that you're presenting them in a new market here in the UK or in Australia or in Canada, it's not landing for the people that you're talking to. And a lot of people say things like, oh, they're being racist or the hiring manager doesn't care about you. No, the context is completely different for them. Now, back home, where you've come from, if you said, as an example, maybe if you're from Nigeria and you say something like Zenith Bank or Guaranty Trust Bank, everyone understood what your company name meant. Everyone understood the scale of project that you've worked on. Here in Australia or in the UK or in Canada or wherever, they are reading the same CV and they genuinely cannot connect the dots between what you did and what they need. So what do? They move on. And you were there, you walk away thinking, maybe I'm not good enough, maybe this country is not just for me. So the fix is really learning how to reframe your experience in a language that the local hiring manager immediately recognizes. This is where you change everything. The second problem is the way you were taught to interview does not work here. Guys, now, this one is hard to hear, but it needs to be said. The way interviews work here is genuinely different. And a lot of immigrants kind of walk into interview rooms fully prepared and prepared for the completely wrong thing. So back home, being humble, being measured, being super gentle, letting the interviewer lead, that was kind of like the right move. In Australia, UK, Canada, if you bring that type of energy to an interview, it's signaling, oh, this person is not confident or this person is not competent. Hiring managers want to see you feel confident. They want you to appear to an interview being chatty. They want you to have opinions. Not the one they say, hey, Satya, how is it going? Good. You? Good. One word. So when you go to interviews, some people go to interviews like all frowning their faces and like you're talking to your personal Lord and Savior. I mean, like even if you're talking to your personal Lord and Savior, like be free. So if you went to an interview here and you're just all strong-faced, what I call bad energy, they will say, oh, that person is not culture fit. So when you attend an interview in these countries, they want you to feel like you've already decided you belong there. Show confidence. You're questioning the way you talk. So people go to interviews and they say like all the story of their life with the tell me about yourself question. Oh, I just moved to Australia 1 year ago and I studied Masters of Professional Accounting and you know I've been what you just give them everything but what they're looking for. And if nobody has ever told you that, if you've been told, oh, brush up your CV and practice common questions, then you're playing a different game than the one being played in that room, honestly. I've seen people who were absolutely the best candidates not get the job because of this simple natural moment that is expected of you in an interview. So if you don't know how to market yourself in an interview, you will not get the job. You probably have heard something called culture fit. So I'll give you a story. I was working with this program manager in a top company here in Australia, and she had just finished an interview with someone that had I think 10 or 11 years of experience, and she had high hopes about this person because she'd seen their resume and it was so good. To my surprise, when she came out of the interview, I was like, okay, so how did that go? She's like, yeah, I mean, he answered all the questions. It was really good. However, there was just something that didn't quite connect. And I said, what do you mean? She said something around the lines of, they seemed very rigid. They seemed like they couldn't take feedback. They barely smiled in the interview and they were just so... This is a completely different game. If you went to an interview in Australia or UK or Canada, you need to be prepared to make small talk. They ask you a question, hey Ty, how's it going? Yeah, not too bad, thanks for asking. I've actually had XYZ. Give them something. Show them what you're capable of doing. Because this market expects you to bring your genuine self. Hiring managers are actually looking for someone like if they met you in the coffee room as an example, can they have conversations with you? If you're attending an interview, you need to be ready to go in there with your absolute best self. Do you know why? They will judge you and put a benchmark. So if you came into an interview and you were all dull, you're talking with your inside voice, they're going to make an assumption like, oh, if we give this person the job, God knows, maybe they'll barely even talk to us when they come. So you want to be super careful. The number 3 problem is people are applying for the wrong role. A lot of immigrants are either shooting too low or shooting in completely the wrong direction. And these 2 things are keeping a lot of people stuck. So they just want to apply for something basic because they don't want to seem too confident, and then they spend 6 months applying for roles that lead nowhere, or roles that don't pay well, or roles that don't build towards anything. Shooting in the wrong direction looks like people that apply for senior roles that require local work experience that they haven't built yet. If that happens, you're going to get crickets, silence. A lot of people start to internalize that as rejection. I won't call that rejection, you just have a wrong target. The Australian job market has very specific pathways, and once you understand where the entry points actually are, especially in tech, the whole thing starts to make sense to you. But a lot of people are guessing, which guessing is super expensive when your rent is due. The 4th problem is people around you have normalized settling. This is one that I feel the most, because when everyone in your circle is saying, this is just how it is for us here, this is the job that we've been doing, I've lived here for 5 years, I've lived here for 10 years, I'm just surviving, I'm just doing this job. And for you who is just coming into the country, that becomes your reality as well, because that's all you're seeing. So I've sat with different people from different walks of life, talk about lawyers, talk about accountants, talk about even people who studied in Australia. They have now come to accept that they cannot have a career, that they can only work in warehousing or work as support workers. And honestly, there is absolutely nothing wrong doing those jobs. It just depends on the value that you hold yourself against, or the standard that you set for your life, or the goals that you wish to achieve, right? The truth is, all of these things contribute to why people just kind of stay in a career where they feel like, I don't actually want this. I want to build a different career. I want to get in into something that makes me feel like me. You chat with people, they say things like, oh, I can no longer have conversations with some of my friends in other countries because they are now at the peak of their career, they are now in managerial level, they are in this level, but here I am, I can't even get an interview, or here I am, I'm just cleaning bathrooms and cleaning toilets. As an example, people in my community, even though they're still on that journey or they are still thinking about the idea of exploring a different career, they are with people who are going on the same journey that they wish to go to. They are in rooms with people who look like them, people who came from where they came from, but they've actually been able to build a career. So when you're in rooms like that, something shifts inside of you. You stop seeing it as something that is just a hope or something aspirational, and you start to see it as an actual path because, oh, Tayo is doing it or this person is doing it. So the people around you during this season matters more than you'd ever realize, because honestly, belief spreads, and if you're seeing who you want to become and what you want to do in other people, it gives you constant reminder that yes, you have to do this, right? So here's what I want to take away from this. The reason so many immigrants are doing jobs that have absolutely nothing to do with their qualifications, or doing jobs where they feel like, oh, I'm just doing it because I have to, is because there is a strategy that is missing. If you saw yourself in any of those 4 things that I've mentioned, so the experience translation, the interview culture gap, you applying for wrong roles or being in the wrong circle, there's a way through every single one of them, because that's exactly what we do at Think Skills. We have been able to help hundreds and hundreds of immigrants land tech roles in Australia, UK, and Canada. A good number of them now working with top companies like Westpac, RACV, Accenture, exploring roles like business analysis, project management, Scrum Master, people who started exactly where you are right now. And the reason for all of this is gives you an opportunity to explore tech roles that do not require coding. So the link is in the description. Go and see what's possible. And if this video says something you needed to hear, share this with one person, because I'm pretty sure somewhere in your contact right now is someone who is quietly saying, I'm just doing any job for now. And they need to see that that doesn't have to be the end of the story. I'll see you in the next one.